Yes, like the very last row. The question is, did you notice that all of your books fit wonderfully with the in your pants joke? I didn't even know about the in your pants joke when I wrote my first 2 books, so I couldn't have known. But I mean, I was certainly, when Maureen came up with the, by the way, for those of you who don't know, if you add in your pants at the end of book titles, they become funnier. Examples would be Flannery O'Connor's Everything That Rises Must Converge, or Philip Roth's novel about sexual promiscuity, Everyman. There's tons of them. Of course, the great A.A. Milne easy reader, Pooh Gets Stuck. There's a lot. And looking for Alaska in your pants is funny whether you know that Alaska is a character or not, because if it's a character, then it's funny, but if it's a state, then how big are your pants? And an abundance of Catherines in your pants is funny just because it's funny. Yeah, so when Maureen came up with this joke, we were talking about her titles, and they were like a little bit funny, but then when we hit on my titles, that's when we really started cooking. And we basically took the rest of the day off from writing just to constantly search Amazon in search of funnier and funnier titles. So I did not think about, I mean, I try to title my books independent of the in your pants theorem, but Paper Towns in Your Pants is probably my least in your pantsy title, so I'll work on it next time. Yes?
You seem to really enjoy naming cars in your books.
Yeah.
Do you name your cars?
No, I don't. The question is, you seem to really enjoy naming your cars in your books. Do you name your cars? No. I'm too old for that stuff, man. My cars are too old for that, you know? Like, they'd be embarrassed at this point. But I will say, I mean, the reason I like to name cars, and the reason I like to give a lot of characters in my book nicknames, is that I'm very interested in the relationship between the identities that we are given and the identities that we choose, and like how those things interact and which of those identities is going to be, which of those things is true. Like, is Marcus, in this book, is Marcus Radar, or is Marcus Marcus? Is, when they're trying to name the car at the end of the book, when they're trying to think of something like essentially true about the car, like, is the car a blue Chrysler minivan, or is the car the dreidel? Like, that's ultimately, yeah, so I'm interested in that. I think that's probably why. Yes?
I have read the last 10 pages or so of Paper Towns so many times that I'm still trying to process it, and my question is, what is your metaphor?
Oh, well, I like the vessel, that's why I put it there at the end. Yeah, Paper Towns is written in 3 parts, the strings, the grass, and the vessel, each of which represent a different sort of metaphor for understanding suffering and the essential unknowability of the other. And yeah, I like the vessel, because the other ones I stole from people, the vessel I made up. Yes?
For the car that was called Hope in Paper Towns, are you trying to subliminal message for Oprah?
The question is whether I'm trying to subliminal message for Obama by talking about hope. Legitimate question, but I mean, I think my belief in hope perhaps even predates Senator Obama's rise to the national stage. But no, I was certainly not consciously, maybe subconsciously. Yeah?
How about we take 2 more?
Okay, 2 more questions. I could do this all night, and I know you could, but they got to close this joint up at some point. Also, in advance, I have to apologize for the fact that, because there are 65 gajillion people here, thank you for... I got it. You'll be last. No pressure. Back there. Okay. But because there are 65 gajillion people here, this signing will have to go relatively fast. But it will still be awesome. I'm so happy. Thank you. This really, like, made my life. I mean, this is so great. I hope some... I will at the end of the show. It's not going to be possible with the on the chair, though. Okay, your question. Yeah.
Well, this is from my mom. She wasn't able to be here, but it's from Looking for Alaska.
Uh-huh.
And she's wondering how, like, you captured how they, like dealt with the death of Alaska.
No, it's okay. The question is how... That's okay. I don't even believe in spoilers, actually. So that's not a problem. But the question is how the characters... how I captured how characters deal with loss and grief. I wrote Looking for Alaska after I'd been working for 6 months as a chaplain at a children's hospital, which will teach you a lot about how people confront loss and grief and how profound and ubiquitous grief is in the lives of people after they've experienced loss. That was in Columbus, Ohio, where I was on Monday, and it's been many years since I worked there. It's been probably 8 or 10 years, and yet still, like, I drive into that city on that highway, and I burst into tears as I did driving away every single day. And I think it was that time made me think so much about these questions of can we find meaning in a world that is inherently unjust? Can we find a way to go on with life while simultaneously accepting that on some fundamental level the fairness that we seek will never be provided to us, at least not in this world. And I think that's a tremendously difficult question, and it's one thing to think about it intellectually from a distance, and it's quite another thing to think about it when the rubber's hitting the road. And that's what I was trying to do in Alaska. That's why I structured it the way I did, was because I wanted us to know and love and care for Alaska, so that we could puzzle through that together. One last question where everyone was pointing.
In Paper Town, when you were like calling everything awesome and signing an email by the president, were you doing that like purposely, like nerd fighter?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good last question. The question is, in Paper Towns, you called a lot of stuff awesome, and there seemed to be some like references to nerd fighters, and like I clearly stole from stuff that I did in 2007, like breaking into the abandoned buildings in Detroit with M.T. Anderson. I mean, I had the idea to write that the way I did before I broke into those buildings. That's part of why I broke into those buildings. So like I stole specific things I saw there. The answer is that those are not references for nerd fighters. Those are a result of you having spent the last 2 years with me and us being friends. And whenever you read books by your friends, you see them in it, whether you want to or not. My sincere hope is that that stuff doesn't take you out of the narrative too much, because I worried a lot about that in the months leading up to Paper Towns coming out. I hope that I found a way to write it in a way that makes it feel like you know me, and at times you feel that you know me, but at the same time it doesn't draw you too far out of the story. That's a great last question. I do want to say one last thing before I stop, because God, I love to talk. You're like, take the mic away, Green. It was just announced this morning, like 12:02, that the movie rights Paper Towns were optioned by Mr. Mudd and Mandate, the companies that made the great movie last year, Juno, and that So I just wanted to tell you guys that first, because I don't have anyone else to tell. I cannot tell you how much it means to me to be here tonight, and how much it means to me that all of you came here tonight. I want you to know that I am keenly aware of the fact that I am the luckiest dude in the world to be a part of this community, and I want you to know that I know and I am trying to always be conscious of how fortunate I am, because I know that my readers and the viewers of our video blog are wondrously amazing, unique in all of human history, and so super special, and I hope that y'all know that too. Thank you very much.